Hey guys, Manfred Hartman here with the inaugural episode of Vapor Trails. Today we are battling in the skies over Kuban, and I'm flying out the BF-109 G2 Premium, which is bar none my absolute favorite plane to fly in War Thunder. And the reason I wanted to share this video with you is that while this match actually goes quite well for me, and I end up achieving ace in a day and score a couple of interesting kills along the way, I also end up making a couple of really key errors that cost our team the match. So this match is by turns one of the most exciting and one of the most frustrating matches that I've had in a while. Incidentally, I also wanted to apologize for this footage being a replay instead of live. I actually didn't plan on flying out War Thunder at all, but I had a particularly stressful day, and so decided to kind of take my mind off things with just playing one match. I didn't even bother setting up fraps or anything. I just kind of jumped into a random battle, and of course that battle ends up being the interesting one that I should have recorded, right? So without further ado, let's just skip ahead to the action. So, as you can see, I've chosen a climb path that takes me out over our ground targets, and the reason I came out this way is I was hoping to ambush one of those huge bombers that Russian teams love to fly out, and perhaps a couple of their fighter escorts. I do spot one dot way far below me, but I'm not willing to give up my precious altitude for just one grass-cutting bomber. Incidentally, that's one of the reasons why I chose to call this channel Vapor Trails. I believe very strongly in climbing high, maintaining an altitude advantage at all times, and jealously guarding and preserving my energy. The other reason is I happen to enjoy vaporizing cannabis before I play War Thunder. Oddly enough, it actually seems to make me a better pilot. Anyway, it becomes clear that there are no targets of opportunity in this area, so I decide to head towards the alternate flight path that Russian pilots sometimes take, which is out over the sea. You'll notice that I've chosen to fly out with the optional underwing gondola cannons. I know our good friend Mags is against this, but I find the added burst mass is well worth the relatively minor performance cost, and I always bring them when I fly out BF-109s. Just having the ability to reliably knock out an enemy in one pass makes it so worth it. At any rate, I've spotted my first enemy here, and I'm just making preparations to make an attack run. Our first customers for the day are a couple of premium P-63s flying in formation, and I'm delaying my dive on them just a bit so that I can set up an angle where I neatly slot in behind the trailing fighter. As you can see, though, he decides to go head-on with one of our BF-109s, never a good idea, but in so doing, he sets himself up perfectly for me, doesn't even see me coming, and I take my first kill. Could not get the nose around fast enough to get to his partner, so I go straight into the vertical to preserve my energy. Now, normally I would continue to fly out straight to keep my energy up, but I noticed behind me that one of my teammates is in dire trouble. This other P-63 is just all over him, so we're going to go back and give him some assistance. It appears to me that this P-63 is pretty tunnel visioned right now, so I decide to dive directly in the hopes that he will make an error, and in fact he does. He gifts me with the broadside of his plane, and, well, who am I to look a gift horse in the mouth, right? Second kill. Just as I'm feeling self-congratulatory, however, I notice that I'm being dove upon by an I-185. Fortunately, however, my energy state is quite high, and my engine also is larger than his. There's no way he's going to catch up to me in a straight line. He realizes this and decides to dive away, and, well, now the hunter becomes the hunted. We'll drop our throttle here just to tighten up the loop and turn ourselves over. Rather than diving straight at that I-185, I decide to maintain my energy and altitude advantage and try to find a tactical spot where he's going to be the most vulnerable. I can tell that he's tunnel visioned on my teammate, and I know that there's going to be an opportunity coming up at some point. The I-185 makes a pass at our teammate and goes into the vertical to preserve his energy. In so doing, he presents himself beautifully for my guns. Unfortunately, I just totally screw the pooch here. I'm firing wildly, and I just completely whiff that one. That one is totally on me. And as you'll see in a moment, that mistake ends up costing my teammate his life. The BF-109 decides to push a head-on pass with the I-185, and that is a big mistake. That thing has a lot of guns up front, and they fire really rapidly. Unfortunately, he ends up losing that engagement. Now before, when the I-185 was chasing me, he couldn't keep up because my engine was more powerful, and now, as you can see, I'm catching up to him. The reason I'm keeping my nose low here is I'm anticipating him making a break, and I want to be prepared for it. Unfortunately, my shooting is off there, and I missed that opportunity. It was kind of a difficult deflection shot, but you'll also notice that I choose not to follow him in the turn. Instead, I go for his teammate, the Yak 3 behind him, who wisely decides not to go head-on with me, and again, I choose not to follow him in the turn, but to keep going in a straight line and preserve as much of my energy as I can. That decision ends up saving my life because, unbeknownst to me, there's an LA-5 trying to spike me from below. He actually has a lot of speed on, but again, I have a much more powerful engine than he does, so I just point my nose straight to the ground and decide to outrun him. Fortunately, also my teammates are there to assist and discourage him from staying on my tail. That little scare with the LA-5 makes me realize that I am at a low altitude and energy state, so I decide to keep flying straight rather than turning back to regain some altitude. I maintain the climb until my pursuer realizes that he will never be able to catch up and turns away, and at that point I'm free to make my turn. Notice I make a high bank to preserve as much altitude as possible, and at the completion of the turn I'm going to level off and try to maintain that altitude advantage. I'm not going to try and dive down right away until I know that I have a tactically viable target. Now this LA-5 presents itself. He seems to be tunnel visioned on our teammate, so I approach him thinking that he will make a tactical mistake that I can take advantage of. But it appears here that he might have spotted me and goes vertical to evade, and so that's why I'm keeping my nose low, just to see where he's going to evade to. But it actually turns out that he's trying to spike a teammate from below, so I just set him up in my sights and take him out. I don't even think he saw me coming. Third kill. At this point, it appears that quite a scrap is brewing down at treetop level, and so it's time for me to get down there and join the fight. One of our teammates here is being harassed by two enemies, and I decide to come down and spike this 185 that has presented itself. He wisely tries to pull into the vertical, but I pull off a beautiful deflection shot and manage to pilot snipe him for my fourth kill. Once again, I turn back to find that I have an enemy on my 6 trying to spike me from behind. Fortunately, I have a relatively high energy state, and thank God for Willie Messerschmitt's engines, man. I can just pull straight away from him because my engine is just that much more powerful. Rather than trying to lag pursue, it seems our enemy is trying to spike us from underneath, so I just go straight vertical into a hammerhead, drop the engine to tighten up the loop, and now it is me who has the advantage over him, coming in from behind. So at this point I have the energy and speed advantage on my enemy. I believe he realizes this and cuts his engine and starts evading. At this point I should just aim straight at him and fire, but I got a little bit fancy trying to anticipate his movements, and I missed that opportunity, which ends up costing our team the match. So now our teammate is in a desperate position. He's getting double teamed by two enemies, and that LA-5 that I missed an opportunity on is about to knock out his entire cooling system with a critical hit right there. So I've now missed two opportunities to take out enemies, and in those missed opportunities I have allowed my teammates to become badly damaged or killed. Nevertheless, the fight must go on. This LA-5 pilot, Crazy Horse, was really quite skilled. He was all over our teammates and giving them fits, but fortunately on the pass I take a huge chunk out of his wing, and even though that was a little bit of loose trigger discipline on my part, he ends up going down. that's my 5th kill, ace in a day. At this stage of the match, I'm really feeling quite good about myself. I've got 5 kills, my team is up 3-1 on the enemy, and it seems as if this is just an inevitable victory, right? But as you'll notice, things don't exactly go according to plan. Well, that enemy is running for his base defenses, so, well, let's speed up to the end. See that long tail of steam there? Yeah, I was conversing with the other pilot, and he was saying that he was just minutes away from his engine failing. I wasn't too worried about it though, because I thought I'd be able to take out this one fighter who's low on energy and obviously running by myself. Well, we'll see how it happens. So here we are approaching the enemy runway, and my first mistake is that I don't realize the AAA in this runway has actually been upgraded. It used to be just some ships in the harbor that would shoot at you, but now they've actually added AAA emplacements on the runway itself, which makes it a lot more dangerous. I'm not too worried though, because I know how to avoid AAA, simply making vertical maneuvers. And at this point, it looks like the LA-5 is trying to spike me from underneath, so I just go vertical and just deny him that opportunity. I'm not too worried on this approach because, again, I'm making these dolphin vertical maneuvers, which the AAA shouldn't be able to follow. Well, until right there. They blow off my control surfaces just 1 second before I'm about to make the killing blow, and I end up face planting into the ground. How embarrassing. Now our teammate here does the best he can to try and finish off the enemy with his incredibly shot up plane, but it's a lost cause at this point. He's very badly damaged. His engine is literally seconds away from dying. He really doesn't have much of a chance to secure this victory. After a really brief dogfight, our teammate just succumbs to his injuries and his engine quits. Unfortunately, he's unable to continue the battle. No. Watching this guy plow into the mountain and knowing it was my fault was pretty painful. Fortunately, we have one teammate left, and he even has the energy advantage over the enemy, catching him just taking off on the runway. Unfortunately, it becomes quickly apparent that this teammate is probably very new to the game. He overcooks the dive there, misses his opportunity, and then goes straight into a loop. Guys, let this be a lesson to you. If you're going to fly the Focke-Wulf 190s, do not turn fight. Fly in the vertical, stay in a straight line. This guy had way more energy than the enemy, but for some reason just decides to do a bunch of loops and really gives up all of his energy, and as you can see, ends up with the enemy on behind him, who blows his tail surfaces off, and it was at this point that I knew that we were going to lose the match. So bitterly disappointing, let me tell you. Well, that's it for this episode of Vapor Trails, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Please hit that like and subscribe button below if you did, and that will be my barometer to gauge if I should continue doing this. Thanks again, guys, and remember, get high, stay high. That's the winning strategy.